I had the amazing opportunity to attend the Consumer Electronics Show at the Las Vegas Convention Center. This past week, we were able to see so much up-and-coming tech that it was almost overwhelming at times. Throughout my 2 to 3 days of the convention, I visited the many different companies and products on the show floor, and of course, recorded them in action along the way. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to just share some of these experiences and my favorite products that CES had to offer. So these are in no particular order and are definitely not reflective of every single thing that CES had to show, but just what I was able to see and experience. The exhibitor that really stood out this year was LG. They had a huge presence on the floor and probably the most eye-catching tech. In the middle of the space, LG showed off their transparent, fully wireless OLED 4K TVs, which were honestly pretty stunning to look at. And after talking to some of the reps on site, they told me that any pixels that would usually be turned off in a typical OLED TV, so turning them black, would instead be transparent. The cool thing about these TVs is that they're also wireless, which is true, but also kind of false. When I asked about how the TV receives power, they stated that there is indeed a cable on the right side to plug into the wall, and a separate box where the user can plug in peripherals like streaming boxes and gaming consoles. So this box supposedly communicates to the TV via a wireless signal that is at a different frequency than any Bluetooth or Wi-Fi enabled devices in the home. So there's very little interference or latency, supposedly, from what they said. They said that you can indeed game on this if you want. It has that little latency. So that'll have to be tested, I guess, by people that are showing these off. I will not be buying one of these because these transparent TVs are going on sale for a whopping 60,000 USD. So that's expensive. LG also showed off their bendable gaming monitor, which can either be flat like a traditional monitor or curved inward to get a more immersive experience while playing games. So the spokesperson said that you could adjust it to bend at various points with the included remote. So it doesn't have to just be fully open or fully flat. It can be somewhere in the middle if you don't want it to be super curved. That was honestly really cool, and I think that this is a more practical application when compared to the transparent TVs. The other thing that the LG booth really leaned on heavily was in AI, as so many other booths here did. And honestly, parts of it really creeped me out.
Rise and shine, Joy. Would you like to hear your daily brief?
Yes, please.
Today's temperature is 4 degrees lower than yesterday. Your parents had a restless night, coughing and moving quite a bit. Consider checking in on them.
Thanks.
Seeing that video, like, I feel like it's just a little too invasive, and just the way they were saying things with how it could identify what was going on with their parents and send it directly to you, that's a little bit weird. I know it's not technically happening right now, but it is something they're saying, could happen in the future. I don't know, that's just a little bit creepy to me. They mostly just showed off how AI could be used in the home for certain automations and get things prepared for you. So some of this was certainly cool and is currently used in some form, with some aspects just being aspirational for what could come in the next few years. Samsung also had a very similar setup. They call it the Samsung City, which was honestly not as exciting. They basically just showed off all their smart home products that can work with Samsung SmartThings, which I will admit is a lot more devices that are compatible than the Apple HomeKit. They showed off how these devices can be monitored and controlled with pretty much any screen in your home. So they showed off turning on light switches with your TV or your phone or tablet or smart fridge or even your washing machine. Besides that, there really wasn't a whole lot else that was notable here. That was about it from Samsung. Next up, I went to the Kodak booth to look at their lineup of different film and digital cameras before getting a photo taken myself. I like the designs of these portable shooters and printers for the most part. They're pretty fun and minimal, both of which I enjoy. And they have this fun little experience where you could put on some props and you could have them print out a CES photo of you. So I definitely did that. I put on some sunglasses and I got a little photo taken. I got my 2 photos taken. Looks just like me. There are a bunch of little solar powered gadgets from Powerfoil, which make use of these little solar cells that can be placed in electronics such as headphones, thermostats, or e-readers. And the cool part about these is that, especially with the case of the headphones, is that you theoretically would never have to charge these even once, as the headband can absorb solar energy when you're out and about and actually charge the device. Of course, solar takes a while to charge, but it's definitely an interesting concept. Speaking of concept, there are so many concept cars that are shown off every year at CES, and this year was no different. Honda had a lot to show off, actually. The first car that Honda had was its AILA sedan, which is a collaboration between Honda and Sony, which made another appearance this year. It was also there last year. Honda is handling much of the experience in actually making the car, and then Sony is handling the software and electronics in the car. So the car is supposedly supposed to have around 400 horsepower. It has a screen that spans the entire dashboard that can be used for the usual navigation and music, as well as playing full PS5 games. Now, you do have to note with this is that this is just remote gaming, so it needs to be connected to your console that you have at home. So the PS5 isn't just built in. You can just play the games that you have already at home on your PS5. But I think the car looks pretty slick. The biggest downside is definitely the price. This thing is expensive, as it is currently about to go on sale for around $90,000, which is a lot of money. Honda also showed off two other concept vehicles, the Honda Zero Saloon and then the Honda Zero SUV. I have absolutely no idea if these will ever make their way to production, but they're pretty cool nonetheless. The slope back of the Saloon was certainly unique looking, although not very practical since you can't see out the back window in any way, kind of similar to the Cybertruck. I stopped by the John Deere stand because I wanted one of those sweet hats, and then headed outside to visit the Scout experience. So the new Scout pickup trucks were actually here and are a Volkswagen brand of EV trucks. They're meant to compete directly with much larger pickups, and from the looks of it, remind me a lot of a Rivian, only a little bit more rugged rather than adventurous and techy like a Rivian is. They had both the SUV as well as the truck to look at, and although you weren't allowed to sit inside of it or take them for a test drive, you could still kind of see the inside and the outside. They said that these will supposedly be coming out in 2027, so we'll see if that is indeed true. Just directly comparing this to Rivian's R2 compact SUV is supposedly releasing in 2026, with this smaller R3 crossover presumably coming out in 2027. So this will be some major competition for the Scout brand. So we'll see how that all ends up happening. The iCario karaoke machines seemed like such fun little machines to use with friends. So they offer two wireless mics for any version that you get, and they can be charged directly from the device, so no batteries needed. And they come with a screen to view lyrics from a variety of sources such as YouTube, Apple Music, Shmule, or other karaoke apps. And they have a few different sizes, so they all offer the same basic functionality. Just the bigger ones have obviously bigger screens that you can view lyrics or music videos or that kind of stuff on, as well as more powerful, bigger speakers that can be used with it. There are also some basic configuration options that you can use with the microphone, so like you can change things such as the echo adjustment, and then there are also options for the device itself, so you can customize the RGB lighting within the machine. Next, I headed over to the Lazer booth, where a representative talked to me about the laptop cooling pad. So this little gadget runs extra fans to cool down your computer while doing processor-intensive tasks like gaming or rendering something. And there is a ton of customization options for it, including how hot it needs to get in order to turn on the fans, what the fan speed is going to be during that period of time, and of course, there's RGB lighting for underneath it. birdfi had a stand here showing off their bird nest camera systems, so you can keep a close eye on your local bird friends, which honestly seems like a bit of an invasion of privacy for the birds, in my opinion, but whatever. Basically, this is just a ring or nest camera that's built into a birdhouse. There's really not much else to it. If you're a bird watcher, then this could be a super fun toy to play around with. If you already take a bunch of photos of birds, you can have them be right there on your deck or outside in your patio. You can view the video feed just via an app on your smart device, and you can save those recordings for future enjoyment. They also had a Waymo booth here, which definitely isn't anything new. The service has been around for quite a while. But they were showing off some new types of vehicles that they're going to be using for service outside of the standard Jaguar ones that they're currently using. I was fortunate to actually be able to beta test the Waymo service back when I was in San Francisco last year. And it's a pretty surreal experience if you haven't tried it for yourself. They have this kind of cool globe that was highlighting where Waymo operates currently, which is in a ton of places. It just consists of 3 metro areas at the moment, including San Francisco, LA, and then Austin, Texas. Hisense had these cool pod-shaped short throw projectors that also acted as speakers, with additional wireless surround speakers that connected wirelessly to it. There wasn't anything particularly revolutionary about the picture. It's kind of just a 4K projector that's a short throw, but the design was pretty unique, and a lot of people were interested in it since they're just like these cute little pod shapes that you can kind of put them wherever you want in your house. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Insta360 was showing off some of their new action cameras and tripods. And as with most companies, they were really trying to hype up the AI in these cameras, saying how well they can intelligently process footage. I didn't buy some of it, but they did say that these cameras were co-developed with Leica, which is one of the most well-known camera brands out there. I don't know if this is anything more than just a brand deal, honestly, similarly to how OnePlus slaps Hasselblad's name onto their camera system in their flagship phones. But I thought that the tripods were honestly a lot more interesting because paired with the app, they can intelligently lock onto a subject while moving or while the subject is moving during a different activity. So for example, if someone is talking, it'll pan over to that person. So the demo that they showed off was they had 2 people standing next to each other, and one was just talking louder and making more movements than the other one. And so the camera decided to focus in on that person, which I don't know if that's always what you would want, but that's what it did. I really like the design of these two because you can hold it like a handheld, almost like a selfie stick, and you can open up the bottom legs to keep it stationary, so you can put it on a table or on the ground. A lot of other tripods can do this, but I thought this was kind of an interesting little demo. Panasonic's showing was pretty lame. They just used a bunch of buzzwords and talked about their history with electronics without much actual products to actually show. They did have these blue health drinks that everybody got lined up for, but that's about it. There's nothing else noteworthy here. Something that was much more interesting was Flint's batteries. So they showed off a few different forms of batteries that they were working on, including flexible batteries and paper batteries. So the flexible batteries were actually really exciting because this could open up a lot more opportunities for creating wearable products or those with different form factors such as foldable devices. You know, at the moment, if you're making something like a folding phone, you have to have regular lithium-ion batteries in both sides of the device and then make a clamshell. But this could create some truly paper-like portable displays in tech, maybe something that can wrap around your arm, which I think is really where we're heading next. So that was really cool to see. They also had paper batteries that they said were very environmentally friendly, so being able to actually be composted after just a month and weigh significantly less than the batteries that we use today. So I think that batteries are the biggest obstacle and limiting factor for creating new devices within the consumer electronics space right now. So the fact that people are working on ways to make these new types of batteries is just awesome to see. Stardust stole the show in at least one area of the convention center with its coffee making robot. So this robot had these crazy arms that could pick up and pour water and coffee beans. It was honestly just cool to watch. Just to be clear, Stardust is the one behind the coding and the software that goes into making this robot work, not the physical robot itself. But the robot gave everybody there free samples of coffee, which was all right. I'm not a big coffee fan, so the drink didn't really appeal to me, but I thought it was at least worth giving a try. So it tasted just like any other coffee, nothing too crazy, but kind of a cool way to get it. So there's this RV on the show floor from a company, RC Future. They allowed attendees to go inside and take a look of where you could be living if you wanted to live truly off the grid. So the RV is drivable, you know, like an RV usually is, and expands out the back and the sides like many other RVs do. This one has solar panels on the top to generate electricity to use inside, as well as a water collection system. So when it rains, that collects, purifies, and can be used for showering, which sounds cool. We didn't get to see that at all in action. But the inside was just pretty average. There's really nothing too innovative here. It just looks like an expensive RV like you would see at any other show. There was this really weird, and I don't know why they did this, but really weird AI podcast session outside, which was just kind of shoehorned in because I guess why not? But this employee was just typing in questions that people might have. And this AI would spout out facts about the RV or answer those questions about it, which was kind of strange. I don't know why they just didn't make like a pre-made info video that you could show, but I guess if you want to seem innovative, throw some AI in there, I guess.
Smart home features for enhanced protection. It's designed to be robust and user-friendly, ensuring your home is safe and secure. Is there anything specific about security you'd like to know more about?
Handy had a pretty popular booth who was showing off their devices. They had a long line where you could spin a wheel and win one of these. I did not win, and I did not test these out in any way, shape, or form, and I certainly did not need to. Their whole slogan that they're going with is that it's not what you think it is, but honestly, it's exactly what you think it is. They did say that you could even link these up with certain VR headsets and have it go along with certain content, which is definitely something. There's not much else to say on this. This was kind of a weird one. Cosmo Robotics had these robotic suits for those with motor impairments to help actually move parts of their legs or arms. So they had versions here that were both for adults and kids. And I think that this could be such a revolutionary product, or like a game changer for those who could really benefit from an assisting system like this. So this was really cool to see here on the show floor. LV Rise had an automated baby rocker that you could adjust with your smartphone, which I'm sure would be useful for a lot of folks. Although I'm not sure that the smart integration with the phone is super necessary. I think this would be just as good by just pressing the buttons that are mounted on the side, which it does have, for the speed or turning it on or off. I'm not sure why you need your phone for that, but it's an option, I suppose. All right, so these my first products really intrigued me. These devices are made for kids that want to have their own camera or watch or smartphone, but aren't old enough to really get quite the real thing yet. And I really love the thoughtful designs for most of these. So they're made to be rugged so they can survive falls and abuse, but they're also colorful and fun to look at, and something that I think, let's just say like a 7 or 8-year-old would actually really like to have. Some of them look more mature than others, so they have some for different age ranges. And there's some pretty smart features on here for kind of the digital age. So for example, there's this like iPod Touch like one, where after you take a photo, it allows your kid to create their own post to send to designated people like friends or family members. And I think that this is a great way to get your kid into technology while also keeping them safe from like a lot of that online world stuff. It really reminded me of like those Gizmo watches that you can get. I used to babysit some kids that had these, and where you can call parents directly from it or play a few select games, and this really reminded me of that. So there were so many different versions of a Roomba or a robot vacuum, but one that really stood out was this one that had a robotic arm that comes out of the top of the vacuum to move things that are in the way that it can't suck up. So for example, a representative put down a sock, and the vacuum identified that this sock needed to be moved. It moved to the stock, it picked it up, and then it moved it to that nearby bin. So they said that when this is actually in your home, you can set what specific area you want items like this to be moved to. I think it's sort of a gimmick, but I could also see this being useful for like a few select items, again, like the sock. I think that's probably the best example that they could have used. But a lot of people were really interested in this, and I think it was a cool demo at least. I'm just not sure how practical it would really be in real life. So I visited the LifeSmart stand, which is actually really nice. There's nothing too crazy here, but they showed off a plethora of smart light switches that they offered, which were so nice to use. Most of them are really minimal, which again, I'm really like. I'm kind of a minimal person. They came in nice colors. They made a satisfying click when you press in on them. I loved them. They were great. They also had versions with screens to dial in settings such as light brightness, or giving you access to multiple different products within your home. They also had this sweet Persona 5 style switch, which I think would be so fun to have in your home to just turn off different lights. So I tried on some XReal AR glasses, which were decent. They basically projected a character onto the display that could react to your movements. So you put on the glasses and you put your hands out, and you can have the character land on your hand. But then you can also juggle objects around, release slingshots, or have a boxing match. And you didn't need any external controllers or sensors or anything that weren't built into the glasses. So they were pretty small, minimal, not at all heavy. It wasn't overly immersive, I will say. The resolution was only subpar. You could definitely tell that you were just looking at a digital image. I think display technology could definitely use some work. And it's miles away from the smoothness of an Apple Vision Pro or an Oculus. But it was a decent demo, and like I said, it wasn't super heavy, so it's something that you could just wear on the daily if you really wanted to. So it was a cool demo. Displays showed off what they claim to be the world's first wireless television, and unlike LG, this one is actually truly wireless. So there are batteries in the TV that allow these to be used fully off-grid, like it would a smartphone. Nothing at all has to be plugged into it. They also have these suction cup backs, so they can be stuck to and mounted to practically any wall or surface, which I think was really neat. There's also a pop-up camera in the top that can be moved up and can be used for video calls with family or friends, which I think was a really neat idea. And it's just stored within the device, so there's no privacy concerns with it being on when you don't want it to be. It's kind of like those pop-up cameras that they used to have when phones were going fully bezel-less, like the OnePlus 7 Pro that had that little pop-up camera. Very similar to that. But you primarily stream content to the device. So if you have something that you want to connect to it, like a computer or a gaming console, they do have a dongle that you can plug into the side of the TV and connect any HDMI source, but it's primarily used for streaming content to it. After talking with them there, they said that the only audio output, besides just the built-in speakers, is over Bluetooth. So if you want to connect these to like an audio system or wired headphones, you can't do so at this time, even with the dongle. And then just ending things off, I was able to go through the Vegas Loop, which if you're not sure what that is, it's basically Boring Company's tunnel system to get to two ends of the convention center, or just a few different places within Vegas. So it's kind of cool to go in to just try out. It's not this crazy otherworldly experience like they're trying to make it seem like. It's just a quick 2-minute car ride with some lights and music, and that's kind of about it. The funny thing is that it's only Teslas going through here, since they don't want like emissions in the tunnels, which I understand. And obviously it's Elon Musk's project, so why wouldn't they have Teslas in there? And that about takes me to the end. As I mentioned, there was so much shown off, so many different people, so many different products. There's only so much that you can see in the limited days that you have here at CES, but these were just some of the highlights of some different products or companies that I was able to see. So it was a phenomenal experience, and I'm so glad that I was able to be part of it this year. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later.